Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Monday, April 26, 2021. Welcome to day 97. The U.S. Census Bureau released the first set of updated state population totals from the 2020 census, which were delayed for months due to the coronavirus pandemic and the Trump administration's interference last year. California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia each lost a seat in the House, while Texas picked up 2 seats, and Colorado, Florida, Montana, North Carolina, and Oregon all gained 1 seat each. Over the last decade, the U.S. population grew at the slowest rate since the 1930s. The full census data used for redistricting will not be publicly released until the end of September. Moving on, the Justice Department opened an investigation into the practices of the Louisville Metro Police Department, 13 months after LMPD officers killed Breonna Taylor inside her own apartment while serving a no-knock warrant. Attorney General Merrick Garland referred to Taylor during his announcement of the investigation, saying that the Justice Department will assess whether Louisville Metro Police Department engages in a pattern or practice of using unreasonable force, including with respect to people involved in peaceful expressive activities. Last week, Garland announced a similar investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department following the police killing of George Floyd. Meanwhile, Biden signed an executive order to create a White House task force to promote union membership. Kamala Harris will lead the task force, which will issue recommendations about how the federal government can use its authority to help workers join labor unions and collectively bargain. In 2018, Trump signed 3 executive orders to limit union protections and bargaining rights for federal employees. The Department of Agriculture extended a pandemic benefits program to feed up to 34 million children who come from low-income households over the summer. The plan will provide about $375 per child to buy food for the roughly 10 weeks that they are out of school in the summer, which totals about $7 per weekday. Meanwhile, the U.S. will send 60 million doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine to countries abroad. The AstraZeneca vaccine, which has not been authorized for use in the U.S. by the FDA, will be sent to other countries once it clears federal safety reviews. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, "We do not need to use AstraZeneca in our fight against COVID." AstraZeneca has not sought FDA authorization for its vaccine, but has already manufactured millions of doses in the U.S. under a federal contract. Meanwhile, the CEO of a vaccine production facility sold more than $10 million worth of his company's stock before disclosing that it had ruined 15 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The transactions were Robert Kramer's first substantive sale of Emergent stock since April 2016. And finally, the Supreme Court agreed to hear an appeal to a New York law that restricts individuals from carrying concealed handguns in public. It's the first time in more than a decade that the court has agreed to take up a central issue of the gun rights debate. And in the polls, CBS News says 58% of Americans approve of the job that Joe Biden is doing as president, while 42% disapprove. A majority of Americans described Biden as presidential, focused, and competent. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditis.